Hi, I'm Barry Craig. Coming up on the Union Label will be a conversation with Jeff Wiggins, President of the Western Kentucky Area Council, AFL-CIO. Welcome to the program, Jeff. Welcome back.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's good to be back.
Let's begin by explaining to the folks exactly what the Western Kentucky Area Council, AFL-CIO, is.
Well, it's a place for all the unions to come and meet and discuss issues, we all we do our businesses a little different, and it's a place to come and meet and discuss problems that we have and problems that we're dealing with, and a way to get information out to each local union.
Now, area councils, also called central labor councils, you see them all over the country, don't you?
Yes, sir.
How many are there in Kentucky?
Right now, I think there's 6 active labor councils in Kentucky, and I think there's 2 that are inactive.
Now, Paducah, from what everyone says, has one of the most active councils for its size, certainly in the state. Agree with that?
Well, yeah, we're pretty proud of that. We're pretty proud that we're very active, and we try to spend our money wisely and do things that help our members and help the community.
Now, the CLC is very old. It goes back, what, to the late 19th century, doesn't it?
Actually, in February of this year, our council in Paducah, the AFL branch of it, was 105 years old.
In February of 2005?
In February of 2005.
Wow. Now, it began, did it not, as was called the old Paducah Central Labor Council. It was AFL craft unions back in the old days.
Yes.
And then the industrial unions came in later.
That was the CIO.
Right, right. Who are some of the, that would be a good thing to explain the difference between a craft union and an industrial union.
A craft union are people that are trained to do a specific task, such as pipe fitters, which they do steam fitting, pipe fitting, they weld flanges, pipes. Electricians, they do electronics, electricity, they run cables. Laborers do usually labor work, and industrial union are mostly made up of men and women that work at the plants, that do certain tasks at the plants. And that's the difference. The AFL is mainly the construction unions and construction locals, and the CIO is mainly the industrial unions.
And you, of course, come out of an industrial background, the steel workers. That's an old CIO union going back to the 30s. So the difference is, in a plant like where you work at Calvert City, a janitor, a mechanic, a machine operator, all in the same union.
Yes,
yeah,
yes. We're all in the same union. Where in the AFL you have different crafts that perform different tasks, and they all belong to separate unions.
Now, the Kentucky State AFL-CIO was 100 years old this year as well, so that makes your council older than even the state federation.
Absolutely, something we're very proud of, that we've been around for 105 years and been fighting for the rights of working men and women for the last 105 years, and we hope to continue to fight for the middle class and the working men and women of Western Kentucky.
One of the unique things about the Western Kentucky Area Council is the annual W.C. Young Award, which is given to an outstanding man or woman, or in the case of, in one case, a couple, your mom and dad,
yes,
who have contributed toward labor. Tell us about the award.
The award is given out yearly. We usually try to give it out in the spring of the year, and it's nominations from the floor, from general nominations, and then the executive board elects whoever becomes the W.C. Young Award recipient. We have a lot of people. We have Larry Sanderson, he's received it.
And he's
Bill Hack.
Larry, of course, is business manager of Local 184, the plumbers and pipe fitters.
Plumbers and pipe fitters. And then we've got one local, which is the Pace Local, 5680, out of the paper mill.
Right.
They have 3 members that have received the W.C. Young Award. Ken Tyler, Wendy Wallace, Wayne Wallace, I should call him by his proper name, and Lewis Hicks, the mayor of La Center.
Mayor of La Center, right,
Mayor of La
right.
Center.
And you mentioned Bill Hack. He was out of Ironworkers Local 782, I believe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the first award winner was W.C. Young himself, a national labor and civil rights leader from right here in Paducah. You knew W.C. Young, didn't you?
Yes, yes. I worked with his son. Actually worked with me at the steel mill at Calvert City. Stanley, and I went to school with Stanley. WC was a very quiet, soft-spoken man, very humble person. I mean, you know, we could all learn a lot from WC. He was just a gracious person. Very, very, very soft-toned, soft-spoken person. But he made his point.
And I remember, of course, I knew him as well, and although he was headquartered in Chicago and other places, he always maintained Paducah as his residence. And in fact, he lived down the street from his church, Washington Street Baptist, right here in Paducah, and commuted all those years.
Well, we do have a legacy. Robert Coleman, who's been on this show, he's a cousin of WC.
Absolutely.
And WC actually pushed him into the Porters Union with the railroad years ago, and Commissioner Coleman has been a good friend of labor and has been a labor man just about all his life. He was, I believe he was a postal worker union when he retired.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Said he's carried a union card for more than 50 years, more than half a century.
That's older than me.
Yeah, and not quite as old as I am, but getting close. How many member unions are there in the area council approximately?
Right now we have a few that are disaffiliated. Some are disaffiliated because of the national AFL-CIO. We had some strife and some problems there, and some are disaffiliated because of being disaffiliated with the state AFL-CIO. But then we have some that have some local issues, and we have mostly industrial unions now that are members. We have a few of the building and trade members that belong. Some of the service unions, ASME belongs. We have quite a few. The iron workers, not the iron workers, but the machinists, and we have the steel workers, and of course the paste and steel workers merged together here recently, this summer in a convention. And we have retired union firefighters. We have a retirees council, and they have members that are affiliated. And right now it's kind of up in the air about the Ames chapter because of the pullout of Unite Here of the National AFL-CIO.
Let's talk a little bit about that. This group calls itself the Change to Win Coalition, and it consists of Unite Here, which is the old, well, that was a merger of the International Ladies Garment Workers and the old Amalgamated Clothing Workers many, many years ago. The carpenters, the laborers, the farm workers, the United Food and Commercial Workers, and the Teamsters. Now, so far, which one of those are actually out of the National AFL-CIO?
I think that United Food and Commercial Workers,
right.
SEIU, which is the service industry,
right.
Service Employee Union. Unite Here is out. Teamsters. And the only thing that has hurt us as far as the pullout with the area council is I probably lost 96 cents a year because one member from SEIU has to be pulled out. And that's
Do we mention the carpenters? They're also out.
yeah, they're also out. Yeah,
yeah,
they were the first ones to leave, and it was a big, I thought they put out a good hand to them to come out and work with other local unions, you know, to put them back in the building and trades councils and stuff, but Sweeney decided that enough was enough and it was time for him to go. But now he's also handing out an olive branch, which I don't particularly agree with. I mean, if you want to be a player, you need to be a player all the way down the chain of command.
What olive branch is he handing out?
Well, he's given the chances for some of the unions that have pulled out on the national level to reaffiliate on the state and the local levels. We have to change some constitution and bylaws to do it, and I'm not willing to go and rewrite a whole new set of constitution and bylaws just because we want to cater to somebody that doesn't want to be a player on the national level. It's all about egos and a lot of it. Some people think they have a better way of doing things, and that's fine. But when you have people in positions that are driving these unions that have some egos, that they need to keep their egos in check and do what's best for the working men and women in this country. I'm not in a position that I'm going to get hired or fired or do anything other than what I'm doing now And I can just tell you the honest to God truth is the simple fact is they need to check their egos at the doors when they come in and go in there and do what's best for the working men and women of this country.
It is hardly a secret that in 2005, labor has many, many fewer friends in government than it had had in the past. Union membership is dwindling. And then here we have this split. These are some very large unions, of course, here in Kentucky. UFCW Local 227 is one of the, it may be the largest single local, or if it's not, it's pretty close to it.
Close.
It's a big union.
Yeah.
And they're going off their way. And the motto of Kentucky is united we stand, divided we fall. That obviously distresses you that they're going off on their own at a time, if any time, when labor needs to be unified.
Yeah, I've spoken on that several times. You know, we always said, and you've wrote a couple articles for me, yeah, united we stand, divided we fall. We're in charge of the middle class of this country. We built the middle class. The labor unions built the middle class of this country. And our main problem is people need to just swallow a little pride and come back together. We have a task at hand to keep control of the middle class of this country. This is the only thing that separates us from a third world country, is we have a middle class. And you know, and it's involved in everything. You know, as economy goes and stuff like that, people in the middle class, if you give them money or you give them a tax break, they go out and buy things because they need things. You know, if I have money and I see something I need, I go buy it. But a lot of times, rich people, and I'm not picking at rich people, because I mean, you know, businesses have to make money for us to make money also. And I agree that they should make a fair profit, and everybody should make a fair profit. But I disagree that they should make all the profit, that some of it should be shared with their employees. And that's what a union's all about. When you give rich people a lot of money, or the well-to-do, let's just put it, the well-to-do, a lot of money, they're going to invest it in something else, or they're going to put it away. They're not going to invest it back in the economy. But me and you, we're going to go out and buy us a car, or we're going to go out and buy us a new ice box or a washer and dryer. And that's what keeps the economy going in the United States, is the drive of the middle class to be able to purchase items that they make at these factories.
Mm-hmm. Let me read you a statement from this Change to Win coalition and get your take on it. It says that the Change to Win coalition represents 6 million workers committed to organizing new members and pursuing a pro-worker, bipartisan political agenda at the local, state, and national level. Now, if you read that, it sounds like that the AFL-CIO is not committed to organizing new members or pursuing a pro-worker, bipartisan political agenda at the local, state, and national level. Your take on that?
That seems real funny that they would put something like that in there, because that's in the Constitution of the International AFL-CIO. I know as steelworkers that we do not give money to one political party anymore. As we did in the past, we give money to candidates that are labor friendly. It's not about whether you're a D or an R or an independent or what you are, but if you're out there humping your butt for working men and women, then we're going to hump our butt to help you. And that's what it's all about. It's not about D or R. And this thing with the coalition Change to Win, I mean, they think they have a better idea and a better way to do things. And if they did have such a better way to do things and a better idea, why didn't they run against Sweeney? Why did they pull out before the last moment? I mean, there's a lot of people that like to see change. I mean, you know, but the time and the place to do change is at the convention, when you have your voting strength and your voting power there. The time and the place not to make change is to air your laundry out in the public and do things in the public. We have some wonderful men and women in Western Kentucky, whether they be affiliated with the National AFL-CIO or not, that are hard-working men and women. I mean, I would put anybody in Western Kentucky against anybody else in the United States as far as being able to do the work and do the production that these people do. We're one of the most talented group of men and women and individuals in this country, and they've been well trained. Everybody's been trained in safety. They've been trained in their crafts, and I'm just very proud to be a part of that. Very proud to be a part of that.
The getting back to the ego thing, I believe Andrew Stern, who was the leader of SEIU, wasn't he a protege of Sweeney's?
Yes, he
Now,
was.
now this was what fascinates me. Here is, in fact, Sweeney, if you remember, when he was elected president of the AFL-CIO, was cast himself as a reformer, sort of a new wave.
Correct.
And then along comes Andy Stern. What do you hear? I mean, do you, in your opinion, is this some kind of personal beef between these two guys, between the teacher and the pupil?
I have no idea what politics lay before that. You know, I get everything I get. We email back and forth about things that we get. I don't know what the inside story is on all this. I just wish that they had the interest of the working men and women in this country in heart, both of them, and they could come to some kind of compromise that would help out the working men and women.
Well, and again, I'm like you. I've never met either one of these men. Know who they are, obviously. Don't know anything about them. But it's been my experience in life is when a real rupture takes place, it's personal, not political. I mean, people can disagree about politics. They can disagree about a lot of things. But for a split to come, I just wonder if it's something personal between this mentor and his student.
I believe it has to be some kind of deep-hearted feelings toward one another. But, you know, like I said, you got to check those egos at the door. You got to check your personal disbeliefs at the door, and you got to come together as one and fight together as one. I mean, we're at a crossroad now in this country where we're only like 6-7% of the working people, and we're not very many of us left anymore. And if we keep fighting amongst ourselves, then there'll be fewer of us, and then look out, there goes the middle class in this country.
Well, that brings up a point that what the folks in this Change to Win coalition have been saying is that they've criticized the National AFL-CIO for not doing enough organizing, and they seem to think that is where they can score. Is about they can do a better job of organizing.
Well, they think they can do a better job of organizing, but you can't do a better job of organizing if you're out organizing other people from other unions' people.
Now they pledged,
that's called raiding,
and they pledged not to do that.
But it's been going on. It's been going on, and it's just a dismay that they would do something like that to another local or another international union.
And in the old days, unions frequently did that to one another. And wasn't that one of the purposes of the AFL-CIO was to stop this raiding?
Absolutely. That's why the AFL-CIO was formed. It was to stop the raiding on other people's crafts and unions and stuff. And it used to be a pretty commonplace, especially on a construction site or maybe in a plant or something like that. Somebody come in and start raiding members like that. But I mean, you know, labor has faults. We all have faults, and we just have to try to work through our faults and make it a better place for everyone.
Mm-hmm. On the topic of faults, let me give you some comments about organized labor. This first one comes from the Christian Coalition. Christians have a responsibility to submit to the authority of their employers, since they are designated as part of God's plan for the exercise of authority on the earth by man. This is a quote from the Reverend Tim LaHaye, who is an evangelical Christian and the author of the apocalyptic Left Behind novels. He says, and I quote, "Unions are one of the organizations leading the world to wickedness." Now, you're a Baptist and a union member. How do you respond to this? And you hear it all the time, don't you?
Well, you know, opinions are like a lot of other things in this world, and everybody has one. I don't believe anywhere in the Bible he can find to me that the labor organization, Christ himself was a carpenter. I don't believe anywhere in the Bible he can find where a labor organization, maybe he needs to spend more time studying his Bible and reading his scripture and quit pointing fingers at people, because sometimes you look in your own backyard and you have more trouble than you do in somebody else's backyard. Labor unions are like, it's kind of like church when you come down to the hall, because we sit and we discuss and we talk about things and we have our prayer and we say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. And I don't think if we were some kind of demonic organization that we would be praying to God and we would be saying Pledge of Allegiance and God we trust. And I don't think we'd have a lot of Christian people involved in the labor movement. Just somebody says something like that, you know, that would just, it just really irks you.
But you hear this all the time.
Oh, I
don't you?
I know. But God loves a working man. God loves a man that's busy with his hands and is busy at his job and doing his task and doing his work. To hear a preacher say that labor organizations are demonic, many of those great preachers that we see on TV have soon to fall, such as Jerry Falwell's had his faults. He's had his falls. I can't
Pat
think
Robertson.
of it. Pat Robertson coming out saying some of the things that he said. I mean, you know, it's not our place to judge. The Bible tells me not to judge.
I believe that is in the Bible. Judge ye
Yeah.
not, lest ye be judged.
Well, you know, and it also says the love of money is the root to all evil. And sometimes I wonder where the heart of these TV preachers are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, God bless them.
Mm-hmm. What do you see as the future of labor in the United States, in Kentucky, and in the area council jurisdiction?
Well, so many of our jobs today are leaving this country. They've been shipped overseas. They just passed CAFTA some time back, and I don't believe you've seen the influx of jobs going out of this country until that takes full effect.
Now,
I believe
explain how that works.
CAFTA is a branch off of NAFTA,
Mm-hmm.
which NAFTA was a national North America free trade agreement.
Mm-hmm.
CAFTA is a Central America free trade agreement, which goes on down to South America. And they pay less wages, and they have less human rights and things than they do in Mexico or China. It's just so sad that this country, once was a fine, great nation, has become a corporate sellout to foreign entities. Most of the companies that are owned in this country and factories are not owned by Americans. My company, itself was sold to the Brazilians. It used to be North Star Steel, Calvert City, Kentucky, and it was sold to Gerdau Ameristeel, which is headquarters, the United States headquarters is in Tampa, and the national headquarters is, the worldwide headquarters is in Brazil. They have 400 and something people locked out in Texas now and fighting some other contracts in other parts of the country. It's a shame that the CEOs and companies say that it's not fair for them to have to compete on a global market and pay insurance and pay such of these other benefit packages that you received. These are things that we fought for, we earned, and we have a right to. These are not something that should be taken away by a corporate, nor should the government let these things be taken away from working men and women.
So, well, politics is...
Back to politics.
It is.
It's all politics.
Well, that's what our friend Larry Sanderson says. You know, it's all politics. To some people, politics is a dirty word. And another thing, union members are like Americans in general. They don't all register to vote and vote, do they?
No. We have a lot of our own members that don't even register to vote. We have a lot of members that are registered to vote that don't vote, and like sometimes too, I get fed up with politics. I get tired of hearing about politics and politics this and politics that. And my dad always told me, he said there was 3 things he hated in life, and one's a liar, one's a thief. Well, 4 things: liar, thief, cheat, and a politician. And I looked at him one day and I said, "Dad, what's the difference?" And, you know, and the only way you get corruption out of politics, I believe, on the national level would to be make some big changes. Some big changes in the way we do business.
But again, you know, money talks. Someone with the income of a teacher or a steel worker, we couldn't afford to run. Even state offices, these state races that will be coming up in the future are going to cost tens of thousands of dollars. National races are millions of dollars.
You're talking the last Senate race in this area was probably run on probably close to $300 and something thousand, and that's funny for a job that only pays probably a base salary of $20,000 a year.
And is a
Isn't that ironic?
It is, and it's a relatively small area from a relatively small state.
Right.
That's part of it. Of course, you and I share a passion for labor history, which you don't get a lot of. People don't realize what people had to struggle with. And I think part of the reason for the Young Award is a lot of the people who've gotten that award have been veteran trade unionists, and they can at least get up to, use an old Baptist term, testify about what they did. But young people, another thing we've talked about before is they don't go to union meetings.
Well, the trouble with the young people today in the labor movement is, you ever sit down and talk to somebody in your plant, or, I mean, you know, some of the people, if you just sit down and talk to them, the company gave me my insurance, the company gave me this raise, the company gives me this. The company didn't give you squat. We had to fight, we had to sit through negotiations, we had to earn everything we have, such as pensions, such as insurance, such as benefits, dental care, health care. I mean, you know, it's, and your hourly wage, it's all negotiated. It's all thought out and hashed out through a contract, and then it's brought back to the membership and voted on. And they just simply think that that company just give them that, and it's wrong. We do a poor job as labor people. I mean, even myself, we do a very poor job of teaching our members what America had to go through to get what it's got today. I mean, we have a battle in itself. We've had wars in this country that weren't even called wars. They were battles with labor and companies over rights for human beings. And that's what it's all about. It's with a little dignity on the job and a little dignity when you retire, if you're able to retire anymore. It used to be the days where, you know, you would say, you know, my dad would tell me the harder you work, the more money you make. But now it's getting to be the harder you work, the more money you make somebody else. And it's you're making, as our productivity in this country has increased, our wage scale has leveled off and started on a decline. Used to be that CEOs made 50 times more than the hourly wage earner in the 1960s, made 50 times more than the hourly wage earner in their plant. Now the CEOs make 600 and something times more than the average hourly wage earner in the plant. And tell me where the travesty is.
We'll stop with that. My guest today, we're out of time, was Jeff Wiggins. I'm Barry Craig. We will see you next time. That's good. That's